Hey guys, my name is Hannah and I would say let's have some fun today. Today I really want to show you my 10 favorite winter palettes, and the other ones of course that I have in my collection I use all year round. There's no boundary for me in that, so I use every palette in my collection all year round. I don't limit myself in that, but there are especially palettes that are reminding me of a certain kind of time, and I really feel the need to use them a little bit more when that time arrives. So I think we all have that in our collection, that we have some palettes that are reminding us a little bit more of a certain time, the color story is speaking more to us in that time, and we are grabbing naturally more for those palettes than other ones in our collection. So if it sounds good and interesting to you and you want to know my 10 favorite winter palettes, then stay tuned and let's get started. This year I really didn't do a top 10 fall palettes because nothing much has changed at that time. I really had the same old palettes that I talked to you about last year as well. So if you want to see that video, I will link it down below somewhere for you. But maybe the next year it will change a little bit because I have some new palettes in my collection that also reminding me really much of the fall time, and I really want to share them with you. But all in all, my favorite fall palettes, there's no much change in that. I'm pretty much standing with my fall palette point that I had, I think last year. I'm not sure about that, but I think it's 1 year ago. So maybe the next year, 2023, I will do again a fall palette video because I think by then some things will change for sure. I just didn't have the time to film my fall palette videos sadly, but now we will make up with my top 10 winter palettes. So also grab yourself maybe a hot drink or something like that, because I was really craving one. I have a really nice hot black coffee in my hands right now that I will drink with you together. So grab yourself a snack or also a drink and enjoy the 10 palettes I will show you now. And let's get started. I put them a little bit in an order so that all the same brands are together, and I will show them in a row to you. And yeah, that's the only order I have. Other than that, they're in no particular order. The first one is not my least favorite, and the last one is not my favorite palette. I love them all equally. Maybe I have some favorites, of course, but in that sense I love them all equally for the winter time. The first one is my Nightmare Before Christmas palette. I don't use it as much as I would like to, but this winter I really will not force myself, but try to inspire myself with this palette a little bit more because I really love the inside. Some people argued that this palette isn't that Nightmare Before Christmas like, but that aside, I really love the color story. I love this beautiful artwork right here, and I also love the inside equally. So I really love this color story. It's so inspiring, so beautiful. I love that there are some grungy tones, some brighter tones in here, and you can really switch it up for every day. So this is a palette that really reminds me of winter because of that really cool tone vibe that it's going on in here. I really think this is such a beautiful and inspirational palette. I played with every color in here, but not as much as I should have the last years. So I really want to push myself to create some more fun looks with this one. I also love to use this one with some of my companion palettes that I have and to mix them a little bit together. So really looking forward to this one, and I think this is such a beautiful palette and it's really screaming wintertime to me. Not just because of the theming in the front, but also because they really nailed it for me in that sense that it's a really nice wintry palette but with a little switch. So because we go by brand, the next one is also a ColourPop palette, and it's my Mulan palette right here. 2 collab palettes in a row. I know you can't get some of them anymore, I'm so sorry, but this is just to show you guys my palette that gets me the most inspired for that time, and maybe you also have them at home. So if so, pull them out. It's a really nice time right now to do that. And my Mulan palette is reminding me of winter because you also have your cool side, you have your warm side, but you also have those beautiful reddish and goldeny tones that really screams winter, Christmas time to me. So yeah, when I look at this palette, it's really reminding me of winter time because of those nice color combinations in here. And with this one you get a more neutral eyes, but you also can pump it a little bit up with those glitters right here. Or if you don't like the glitter, you can also use this beautiful reddish one. I think this is one of those special shades from ColourPop. Those I want to call them every time Jelly Much, but those are the newer special ones, I think. How are they called? A Super Shock Shadow, that's what they are called, now I know. And this is exactly that. I don't have a single one, but I have some of those formulas in some ColourPop palettes, so I'm really happy about that. And those are really beautiful glittery shades. And yeah, ColourPop is always something I like to go back to. It's really my guilty pleasure of palettes that I like to buy for myself. And yeah, I really love this one for that price. For me, you know, ColourPop isn't that cheap, like I always told you, because I have to ship it here to Germany and all the taxes and everything like that that are on top that I have to pay. It's not a cheap brand for me personally, but maybe for some of you guys this is a really approachable and cheap brand. So for that, what you are paying, you really get good quality, I have to say. It's not a bad quality at all. I really like the ColourPop quality. It's not my favorite one, but for that price I think it's my favorite one in the drugstore direction, if you know what I mean. I think for that it's really good and even better than that sometimes. So really can recommend some ColourPop palettes if you are on a low budget but you also want to have a little bit fun with new palettes. Maybe ColourPop is an option for you. I really love this one and I really want to push myself to pull it out a little bit more now that it's getting colder, and especially in the winter time I want to play a little bit more with this one. So now we come to one of my favorite brands on the market for sure. I really love her. I really love her style, her mindset, her fantasy that she is selling every time with each palette she brings out. So really admire this brand, and it's Pat McGrath. And the first palette I want to show you is the Bridgerton collab, the Diamond of the First Water, the first one she brought out together with Bridgerton. And it's looking like this on the inside, if you didn't know already, but I'm sure you do. So this is so beautiful, and I don't know, those reds, this really bluish, coolish, overly glittery shade in here. Yeah, those are really colors that are reminding me so much of winter time. I really want to play the most in the winter time with them. I think this is such a beautiful and inspirational palette, even though there are just 6 pans in here. I really love them all equally, and I every time have so much fun to use this one. And yeah, I'm really happy that I got this one and that I can play now a little bit more with it, or I have the feeling that I want to play a little bit more with it now that it's getting colder. The palette that I have on today, to be honest guys, it's not a palette that I will show you today. It's the Melt Gemini 1 palette that I have on my eyes today, because I test them out right now. The video that I had before, I will link it also down below if you want to see it or click on that. But I test them out right now because they're relatively new in my collection, and I want to do a new Melt ranking for you. And I also want to play on camera with all my Melt palettes again for you guys, that you have some inspiration, or maybe you have the palettes and you want to play again with them, and I want to encourage you to do that with those videos. But really want to talk to you about my favorite winter palettes, so that you all know and we are all on the same page right here. So this is definitely one of them, my Pat McGrath palette. And I really love those coolish tones, but you also can do a really variable nice look. But if you maybe put this one in the middle, named Duchess Divinity, all over your lid, and then put this one on top of it as a really beautiful toppery glittery shade, it transforms your look, guys. It will look so beautiful, trust me. It's such a nice shade that can transform everything so well and so nicely. And then you can maybe put this one a little bit on your brow bow to smooth everything out under there, and also for your inner corners, or you stick with the blue for your inner corners if you want to keep it more fun. But if you want to have it a little bit more low-key, you can also use the Skin Show shade for your inner corner. So much potential in this little palette right here, and I really want to play a little bit more with this one in the winter time. So I really need to take a second sip because my coffee's getting cold. So we are going strong with our Pat McGrath palettes, because the next one is also one, of course, and it's the Mothership Subliminal Platinum Bronze Palette, also a 6-pan that she sadly didn't have anymore, but I really like this one. It's not my most favorite palette, but guys, every time I'm using this one, and I want to play especially in the winter time with it, because I don't think I have to say why, because you all can see what a really beautiful wintry cool dream this is. But yeah, every time, it's not that I'm really partial to use this one every day. I'm not thinking really that often about it, but when I'm doing it, every time I love my eye look with this one. I think it's so beautiful, a little bit on the grungier side, but in such an wearable, everyday, beautiful, wintry way. So I really love to pull this out in the winter time, especially, also in the fall time here and there, but it's getting the most use in the winter time for me, and I really wanna pull this one out again a little bit more because it deserves some love for sure. And I will try maybe to use it more often than I did last year, because it was poorly, to be honest, the use of this one. But now I really want to dig into this one again and use it as much as I can in the winter time, because this one gets me all the feels when I'm looking at it. And I know when I use it, I love my eye look, and it's really fast, really beautiful and stunning. And I'm also not bothered by the fact that there's just one darker matte, because I don't know, I think I can make it work, even though with this beautiful Skin Show shade right here, this is always the shade I think that's really in every palette of Pat, but it's also a really important shade for me, because this is the palette I can blend everything out with. It's not too much shimmer, it's not too less of a glow, it's the perfect amount of everything, and I think this shade makes everything so much easier in her palette. So I really appreciate that this shade is in nearly every palette from Pat. The next one from Pat, and also the last one that I really want to pull out in the winter time a little bit more, it's my Mothership Subliminal palette. I really love this one. It's this beauty right here, and I think this is so much fun, so dark, so grungy, so wintry, but you also can pop a little bit of a bright, interesting switch to it, so I really love it for that. And I think this is a really nice winter appropriate palette. I really want to pull it out now a little bit more. It's getting me all the feels and all the right feels for the winter time. So I really feel the need to play a little bit more with it now that it's getting colder. So the next palette is a new one in my collection, and it's the Christmas Eve palette. I really love this one. Not just the outside packaging is telling me that this is a winter palette, also the inside is really winter appropriated. It's many beautiful bluish cool tones. You also have some warmish tones mixed in there. I really love the ratio of them. I really love that you can create something really fun, bold, but also something a little bit more simple maybe, but every time you have a beautiful pop of color in there or on your eyes. This is something you can be sure of, and I really love it for that. And yeah, really want to pop this out now in the winter time. Really want to play with this one and have my fun. So this 7th palette is my Tati Beauty palette, and if you haven't saw my last video that I posted on this channel, there you can find out all about my new palettes in my life. The most of them are older new palettes I wanted for a longer time, and this one right here is no exception. I really love this palette, and this is screaming winter time to me. This is all the beautiful glittery shades you have up there, the glitters. You have beautiful metallics. They are not that strong, but they're a little bit different from each other in terms of the formulation, but I really appreciate that as well. The only thing is maybe what I sometimes think is that the two rows, the sequined formula and the matte shades, are relatively similar to each other from the shades, but I really love it. I can't tell you how much I love this one. I don't want to rant too long about this one because I know it's not available anymore. It was a surprise for myself as well that I got this one for a really good deal on eBay, and I'm not mad about it. I really love this one and I want to play with it definitely in the winter time. I love it. I'm so happy that I got this one for myself, and this especially is a really beautiful and special winter time palette for me. The next one is from Melt Cosmetics and it's the She's a Parties palette. It's also a newer one in my collection, a newer, older palette in my collection. Really love it, want to play with it on camera for sure. I used it now just once, sadly, to be honest, but I want to use it. I know in my heart I will play so much more with this one, especially when it's getting even colder than now. I want to pull this one out. This is such a beautiful, berry toned and mauve toned wintry palette for me, and it's leaning in the grungy direction. This is what I really love about Melt. Those are grungy tones I'm really comfortable in. I really feel so good in. I really feel beautiful when I'm wearing those shades, when I'm wearing Melt palettes, Melt colors on my eyes. This is also one of my favorite brands of all time. Together with Pat McGrath, I can proudly and 100% surely say that about myself, that I really love those two brands the most. And yeah, I really love to play with this one. I feel every time so beautiful when I'm wearing this, and it's a really grungy, beautiful, wintry dream in my opinion. It's so nice. Even this lighter part right here, it's screaming wintertime to me. I'm really stoked about this one, to use it in the wintertime a little bit more and to have my fun with this one for sure. So the next one is also from Melt Cosmetics and it's also reminding me really much of the wintertime, and it's the Mary Jane palette. And this is what it's looking on the inside. Really love this one. Also so many beautiful coolish tones, but with a little twist, you know. There are a little bit of in each shade is a little bit of a greenish undertone to it, and also really beautiful gunmetal-y shades. Really love this twist on a cool toned palette, and this one is really cool toned, so I'm a big fan. I know this one didn't get the most hype from some people, and some of them really loved it, so it was a mixed opinion on this palette. I'm one of those that really love this palette. I know that some glitters like Sweet Lucy or Mary Jane or even Carly are a little bit more crumbly, but if you are using those ones with a glitter glue and with a nice dense brush, you will be fine in the end. So you just need to know that you need to have a little bit more time on your plate to put them on, because you have to use a glitter glue. But for that outcome, I'm really not minding it. I love this palette so much. I think it's so beautiful, and every time, like I said with the She's in Parties palette, every time I'm using this one, I feel that my eye it's looking so grungy, beautiful and stunning, and I'm not mad about the outcome when I'm using this palette. And I really feel the need to use this one a little bit more now that it's getting colder, and I can't wait for it. I can't wait to put this all over my lid and have a grungy dream on my eyes. The number 10 in my winter palettes that I want to use more in the winter time. This is a palette I can picture in two ways, to be honest. It's the Naked Urban Decay Ultraviolet palette. Don't use this one as often anymore as I used to, but I really want to dig into this one again. I really liked it. It's not knocking my socks off, because I tried so many other and better formulas in that direction, in that color direction, but nonetheless I really like this palette and I think it's really beautiful. And this part down here is really reminding me a little bit more of that springtime around, but if we are covering this part up, it's really a wintry, beautiful dream. And I think to combine those two colors together, the colors down here and the colors up here, can also look really stunning in winter-like. So this is a palette that I will try to use a little bit more in the winter time, because I really didn't have used this one in such a long time, and I want to dig into this one again a little bit more. Like I told you, it's not my favorite palette of all time. It's not a palette I think you totally need to have in your collection. There are better formulas out there and better lilac tones, shades out there, but nonetheless, every time I'm using this one, I think my eye look is looking really nice and beautiful, and I can go really soft but also a little bit more bolder, and I really appreciate this palette for that. So I really want to use this one a little bit more now that it's getting colder, and especially for the winter Christmas time around, I want to pull this one out a little bit more again. So guys, we are at the end of this video. I hope you liked it. Those were my 10 palettes that I want to use in the winter time a little bit more, or that are reminding me a little bit more of the winter time. And yeah, I really appreciate them. I really appreciate that I have them in my collection, and I want to show them a little bit more love around that time for sure. And maybe I inspired you to look also in your collection, look what you have, and look which palettes are really reminding you of the winter time, which one you want to pull out a little bit more again, play a little bit more with, and just have your fun with your stuff that you already have in your collection. If you liked this video, I would be really happy if you consider to subscribe my channel if you haven't already, to give me a thumbs up that I know that you like this kind of content, and maybe also to click on the little bell to get notifications here and there when I'm posting something new. And with that being said, guys, I hope we will see each other in my next video, and until then, bye.